Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh and welcome back. So as I said prior to our short break, if you have any questions, please do ring in on 01274 214 299. That's Bradford 01274 214 299. For now, I'm going to go through some of the questions that I receive on a daily basis on our platform and answer them inshallah ta'ala, and then we will come back to any that we get by call. So if anybody is ringing in, please do so, but I will deal with these. Okay, so here's this next question. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, Mufti Sahab. I came across a bottle of Chanel. We have a call waiting, so we'll take this call first, and then we get back to this question. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, dear caller.
Hello.
Gee.
Hello.
Hello?
How are you? Hello.
I'm very well, thank you. This sounds like somebody whose voice needs fixing. How's your voice, my brother?
It must be all that exercise. That PhD lesson that you gave yesterday, that's good answers. They certainly, well, I think your brother's right, you know. You certainly do have a philosophy doctorate.
MashaAllah, barakallah feek. How are you?
And you said, alhamdulillah, and you said I'm going to take one sip. You had 2 sips of coffee.
I know. I'm making the most of it. It's very tasty, mind you. My brother who makes it, alhamdulillah, makes a very nice, tasty cup, mashallah.
MashaAllah.
May Allah accept it from him.
I was going to say, we all Pakistanis, we're mostly Hanafi school of thought. Can you hear me okay?
Loud and clear. I can hear it crystal clear, literally. Yeah, I have a little earpiece and it's coming through loud and clear.
Okay. We've always been taught a Fajr namaz, 2 sunnah, 2 farz pad. Zohar namaz, 4 sunnah, 4 farz, 2 sunnah, 2 farz. Obviously, then Asr, 4 sunnah, 2 farz. So, are you saying a lot of people they just read the farz namaz and then the others are nafal?
So when the ones you're referring to here now, we have sunnah muakkada, sunnah ghair muakkada, and we have fard. So if we take, for example, the asr, so there's 4 rakats before asr, fard, and then there's the 4 rakats of fard. So the 4 rakats which come before asr, they are sunnah ghair muakkada, meaning the Prophet of Allah sometimes prayed them, sometimes he didn't pray them. But the 4 rakats we get, for example, before, say, or the 2 rakats after the fard of sunnah, the 2 rakats after the fard of dhuhr, they are now a stressed sunnah. So they are sunnah muakkada, stressed sunnah. And they're even more stressed is the 2 rakat sunnah before the 2 rakats of fajr fard. So we are now, if you remember, in the times of the Prophet of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he would pray fard salah. For him, there was only fard because there was no sunnah for him because he was making the sunnah. So there was only nafal for him and fard for him. Okay?
Yes.
So basically there was compulsory, which is the ones you mentioned, mashallah, the 2 fajr, the 4 zuhr, the 4 asr, the 3 maghrib, the 4 isha, and then there was ikhtilaf in the witr as to whether it's wajib or no. But all the others,
we're following the footsteps of our Prophet.
that's
the sunnah.
That's it. That's correct. That's absolutely correct. So for him, alayhi salatu wasalam, there was no sunnah for him because he was making the sunnah. So we know that both are sunnah. That's why we say sunnah muakkada, sunnah ghair muakkada. We know that they are both sunnah because the Prophet of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam prayed them. Now we look at is how constant was he? How regular was he? So those which he was regular upon, constant upon, we call them muakkada, stressed, ta'qeed. Okay? And the ones which he sometimes left, sometimes did, we say ghair muakkada, and we use the language nafal then. So we sometimes call that nafal instead of saying sunnah ghair muakkada. So there is that as well to draw. But it's very interesting because people don't realize that for the Prophet of Allah there was no sunnah. For him there was only fard.
Of course, yeah. Another like you were saying about the qaza namaz. I was, a few months ago, a top scholar on another channel. He was saying, you don't have to do qaza because once you've made tawbah, Allah has forgiven you. And obviously, we as Hanafi, what you've missed, like you were referring to, they are optional. He was saying, they're optional. Once you've made tawbah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala forgives you.
That's absolutely correct. The view that particular school of thought takes is that the hadith mentions that if you've slept, overslept, or if you forgot, then make up that prayer. So they say that in this hadith, it does not mention if you intentionally did not pray. The hadith only mentions that if you slept or if you forgot, then make up
On that
qada.
day.
That's right, that's right. So their
Yes.
argument is that this person intentionally left the prayer. How did he forget or how did he sleep? Okay,
Yes.
so we make our argument that no, there is clear clarity in qada that when a person is preoccupied with something, whether it's jahiliyat, whether there's some type of activity he's doing, because we know, for example, the Prophet of Allah ﷺ was kept busy by the mushrikun during a battle in which he missed, I think, up to 4 prayers or 5 prayers, and then he made qada of them afterwards. Okay, now that wasn't that he forgot or that he was asleep. But he still had to pray them. So we say that these are just 2 examples given. That does not mean that they are exclusive. That these are just 2 examples given of reasons how a person could miss a prayer, because it never dawned on the companions or on the Prophet of Allah ﷺ as such that people would intentionally abandon prayer, because there are numerous narrations which mention that a person who intentionally abandons prayer has fallen into kufr. Makes it very clear that this is a choice you make, because this is the only zahir, this is the only clear sign of a person's iman, because iman is in our hearts. There's no way how we can tell whether a person's a believer or not a believer. But the zahir act, the apparent act which demonstrates this person's iman, is when he prays salah. So if a person refuses to pray salah, then that questions his own iman. That has this has
It depends how closest you want to get to Allah and your taqwa. And the third and final question is, I listen to a lot of Asian Urdu scholars, and when ladies or gentlemen ring up and they say, "Oh, we got depression, we got depressed," and can you make a wazifa for us? Give us a wazifa. They don't. All they do is give them a wazifa, but they don't tell them what to do for that depression. I know they're not doctors, but surely, like you're saying, go for a walk, do this, change your habit.
yeah. It's
Try and make
yeah.
taqwa. I'll listen to you on the telly, okay?
Inshallah.
Salaam alaikum.
Barakallah fi.
Salaam
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Jazakumullah khair for calling again, mashallah. I worked through his disguised voice there. Yeah, but very, very good point. And I'm glad, we can touch upon that last point as well. And I'm glad you ring in, honestly, Baisab. I'm really glad you ring in, because, you changed the kind of direction of me, speaking. So, I was going to give you some Q&A that I got on my platform. But now actually I'm sort of speak to someone on the audio, on the sound, and then I can address that particular point as well. And it makes it a little bit more of a rather than being monotonous one-way traffic, it becomes a conversation. This points to a more general issue that we have as a people, and the general issue that we have as a people is we want what I call the quick pill solution. What I mean by that is that when we want to lose weight, we don't want to go and change our diet or stop eating certain foods or exercise. We just want to take one pill and we want the problem solved. That's it. We want a magic pill. And this magic pill is unfortunately our solution to all our problems. So when we've got depression, we don't want to start practicing hijab if we're not practicing hijab. We don't want to make sure that our money is coming from a halal source. We don't want to make sure that we avoid haram in our food. We don't want to make sure that we're praying regularly, and we abandon all that. What we want is a quick pill. So this wazifa, write me a ta'weez, write me a wazifa, and that's it. This has never been, and it's not what Islam is. Islam is about fixing yourself. It's about getting yourself in order. The reason why sometimes we can suffer from depression, the reason why sometimes things happen in our life which is, makes us unhappy, is because we are not in a good spiritual state. Okay? We need to be in a good spiritual state. I mentioned it, and I'm sure my brother from Peterborough will know the same. When our families first arrived here, they had nothing. They had pittance. They had nothing at all. Okay? Yet the families were happy. Okay? And when I sit with my mother now, my dear mother, and I talk to her, and she mentions the tales of the past. She came from a very poor village from northern Pakistan, and she'll mention how things were. But the love, the respect, the camaraderie, the coming together, the family unit was very strong and very different to how we find ourselves now. Now we're living in big houses, 150,000, 200,000 pound, 250,000 pound houses. We've got nice cars parked outside. We're pushing our children to get a good education. They've got qualifications and all the rest of it. And yet, we're not fully satisfied with life. We're not content with life. We sometimes, walk around with a heavy heart. We walk around with not being happy, basically. How can that be? If we feel the dunya is the solution, and if we feel that the more material things we gain around us is the solution, then why aren't we happier? We are financially far better off now than we were when we first arrived on these shores. But you still find people sad, depressed, not happy with their lives, unsatisfactory lives, feel they're not achieving what their life is about, always want the big questions answered. Where am I from? Where am I going? Who am I? What happens to me after death? All these big questions, but they're still not looking for the solutions in the right places. They're looking for the solution in the wrong places. I always say, and I probably mentioned it on Iqra TV, but it doesn't hurt to mention it again, is that back in the day when I was a lad, I used to watch all these kind of black and white flicks, the Buster Keaton and the Keystone Cops and Charlie Chaplin, and one of the other one was Laurel and Hardy. But before I tell you about Laurel and Hardy, let me take this call, inshallah. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, dear caller.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. I just want to add something in your discussion that how can we make our children give our utmost, the top priority to how to make our children a good Muslim. Okay. Like when they are children, we get really happy that they sing some English poems, and we give them to play. 90% girls, they play with a Barbie doll and golden hair, and that doll, just beauty concept they have in their mind when they play with that doll. Why don't we change something to give children our own culture, our own identity when they are small, and we stress on this, that where our children will stand in like next generation, where they will stand. They will have lots of wealth. They won't have to worry about their like houses and these kind of things. We put all our energy that how much comfort we give to our children, but not to for their personality, for Islamic personality, and become a good Muslim. So these things, until we don't submit ourselves and our children, we pay we have artistic skills for our how to dress up, how to haircuts, and how to decorate our houses. But the main thing is children's personality, Islamic personality, and their identity and their strong character. Until we don't put, we watch all these, dramas for hours and hours. But do we care that how much responsibility we have towards our children?
No.
We need.
Yeah, Jazakumullah khair, sister, for that, and a very good observation that sister made there, and it's an important observation, and I know it's not been said before. It's not been said before, meaning it has been said before, and it's worthwhile repeating. And it's again the choices we make. We push the kind of world in front of our kids. We make the world their main goal. We want happiness in the world. We think that by happiness is going to be a materialistic thing that's going to bring happiness, that the more material we have, the happier we're going to be. So we kind of instill these values in our children. And then when they don't succeed in life, then we kind of bring them down like, oh, I wanted you to become a doctor. I wanted you to become a this or that. You're useless. You're this. And that has a really, really bad impact on their confidence. and on their own self-identity. I talk now to 40-year-olds and 50-year-olds and 30-year-olds who are still struggling with not meeting the expectations of their parents, and they feel that their life is worthless. They feel their life is worthless because they never met the expectations of their parents. But now when they start to reevaluate their lives, they start thinking, hold on a second here, I shouldn't even have been chasing that lifestyle. That's why I was never happy. My parents didn't really raise me properly. And I hear this from so many 30, 40, 50-year-olds, that my parents did not raise me properly. My parents, all they said to me was school, 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 and school finished, then college, college, then uni, get a good degree, now get a good job, earn lots of money. You should be earning 25,000, you should be earning 30,000, you should be... And it's only when I've got to 35, 40 years old, and I've started to think that, hold on a second here, I don't feel content. I feel empty. And all this thing that my parents told me would make me happy is not making me happy. Okay, it's not answering the questions that I wanted answering. In fact, it's leaving me with lots of empty space, lots of dead space. And they feel really a lot of resentment towards their parents then. That, yeah, alhamdulillah, you raised me, you sent me to school, all you told me about was earning money, earning money, earning money. That seemed to be the only goal you gave me. But when it came to this other side of things, you never informed me, and I don't know now how to deal with that. And as a result, I now feel that I've not lived a fulfilled life. And now it's too late for me because I'm now in my 40s or 50s. Because what tarbiyah is when you're a child. Because I've heard so many, people in their mid-20s, literally cry to me. Even in their early 20s, let me tell you that. I spoke to someone maybe 6 months, a year ago, in their early 20s, crying that they felt their parents gave them an empty childhood. The parents sent them to school, gave them money, gave them all that, but didn't give them answers to problems, worldly problems that they faced, did not give them any answers to that. And as a result, this person now was dealing with all sorts of things in their mind, okay, literally having mental breakdowns in their early 20s. And when I offer, look, it's still not over, you can go back, get your tarbiyah, start studying, all that. The person says, I can't do that anymore. I got a job, I got this, I got that. I can't just walk away from all this. And they can't make that jump. So like the sister said, absolutely, on the button, on the nail, absolutely. Prioritize things. I teach Bukhari, alhamdulillah, and I just finished class before I come to the studio. And when I finished class just before I came to the studio, we started Kitab al-Buyu in Bukhari. And it mentions, Mullah Likari rahimahullah ta'ala, he mentions in there that you find that Imam Bukhari rahimahullah mentions all the ibadat first, and then he goes on to Kitab al-Buyu. And the reason why he mentions all the ibadat first, because it's important that we understand the masail of the ukhruwiyah, those things which are associated with the hereafter first. Then we learn about those things which are associated with the dunya. Because buyu is associated with the dunya. Now buyu is not haram. Buyu is all about how you do transactions. Yani buying and selling, loans, investments, all that kind of stuff. But it doesn't bring that first. The first thing it brings is salah, tahara, salah, som, zakah, all those things come first. What do? We bring all those things first. We push ibadat to the back. And even when we bring all the stuff first, we don't bring it from a Sharia perspective, we bring it from a worldly perspective. And we teach our kids that the world is evil, you got to get yours, even if it means doing people over, even if it means defrauding people, even if it means cheating, tricking, do what it takes. Milk the system. Get what you deserve. These phrases you hear. And they start to teach their kids to just milk the system, to steal from the system. Well, you're not stealing from the system, you're stealing from people. People are paying taxes. People are paying taxes, which are taken by the government, and then those are handed out as benefits. So if we're doing benefit fraud, we're not just taking it from nobody, we're taking it from those poor people that are getting taxed, who are actually going out to work. So they're going out to work, long hours, hard hours, and their money is being taken from them against their will, because nobody freely gives tax. And that is then given to people on benefit, and there's lots of people, unfortunately, who are then doing benefit fraud and thinking, well, it's all right, I'm just milking the system. You're not, you're taking people's money. And folk will be answerable for that on the Day of Judgment. So instead of teaching our children that, we're teaching that. Anyway, we're coming close to the end of today's show. Alhamdulillah, Jazakumullah, first of all, for the two callers. I appreciate you calling in. Thank you for calling in. And we also touched upon a couple of questions as well on the group. But please, tomorrow, inshallah, same time, same place, Iqra TV, channel number 742. Yes, I didn't need anybody to tell me in my ear. Not. So channel number 742, the number to ring, not now, but tomorrow, is 01274 214 299. Please do call in. It makes the show much more enjoyable, and it deals with issues which are of concern to you. Take care. Speak soon. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.